Well, welcome back to the Cross Creek Cut. Today we're going to be discussing the importance of nitrogen management, primarily the fact in the 2x2x2 setting at planting time. But we've got some interesting things and data that we're going to show you over the time period of what we did in the last 2 years in our 2x2 system versus what we did in 2023 in our 2x2x2 system. So now we're getting nitrogen and also nutrients and different things we're doing in humics and also our sulfur and boron on both sides of the row. But the real big thing is, why are we doing this? Why is the importance of actually putting it on both sides of the row versus on one side? We can reference back to the Beck's PFR data and show that the ROI was increased during the point in time where we moved it from the 2x2 on one side of the row to banding it on both sides of the row. So we can actually look at that data and see that Beck's PFR did that over a long-term study and over many years to prove that on both sides of the row and banding it was bringing us increased ROI. So for our farm, in the winter of 22, we actually took the time, broke down the planter, rebuilt it with Conceal, so Precision Planting's Conceal system, and put it on both sides of the row. And we are now banding it on both sides. The big thing is we also went from that 12-gallon to 13-gallon load we were running on one side of the row to last year our standard rate was 15 gallons on both sides of the row. For 2024, we're actually making the move to we are going to be actually 20 gallons on both sides of the row on a total load. So with that 20-gallon load that we're putting on both sides of the row, what's exactly in that? Well, we're looking at right around that 16 to 17 gallon mark that we're going to have in 28% UAN. We're going to have around 3 gallons of ATS, ammonium thiazole. We're going to have a pint of Humica. We're going to have a pint of boron. And then for 2024, we're actually going to be testing again what we tested in 2023 is Enhance at a pint rate. We had some interesting data when we added Enhance to Humica and boron at the full pint rate. We actually saw an ROI increase at the 2x2x2 setting and also in our side dress, which we'll show you on a later video. Interesting enough is we think that the fact of the matter of having humic acid as part of that and increasing that humic acid load with Humica and Enhance has increased the ROI and allowed some things in the CECs, but also the humic load and the amount of exchangeable sites to go up. So why do we do that? What's the point of having more of that in there? And why are we seeing the ROI switch from when we used to have it in just 2x2 to now 2x2x2? Well, if you look at our data back from 21 and 22, we had $19.26 ROI from doing 2x2 versus not doing it at all. With the same amount of nitrogen put during the whole course of the season, nothing changed there. But in 2023, we actually started doing 2x2x2 on both sides of the row, and our ROI went up to $42.03 an acre. That's coming from $19 and some odd change, going up to $42 and some odd change. That's a big jump by putting the nutrient load on both sides of the row. So for 2024, like I discussed, we are going to increase that rate because what we've learned over time is having more nitrogen available to plant banded and closer to the plant is more beneficial. But also, through Fred Belo's data and University of Illinois looking at, we've known now over his time period of that data that the more nitrogen efficiency and usage is actually earlier in the plant than it is later applying. So we're trying to get more in that tune of around 60 to 70 pounds of N available to the plant early on in the season. Another thing is we talk about nitrogen escape. So when we look at roots and how they develop, we want to make sure that nitrogen we're spending so much money on and the amthio that we're spending a lot of money on is sitting where we want it banded, but not denitrificating, not looking at volatilization, any of those kind of situations. We want to take that money, we want it in the root zone and in the rhizosphere of the roots so we can actually utilize it and use it. Well, you've got to be able to stabilize that. And here at Cross Creek, for the last few years and a lot of our time that we spent researching this, we're not a big fan of using DCDs, nitropyrans. I don't like killing off bacteria. I don't like slowing down the nitrobacter process with things that are going to do that when we could use biology, we can use chemistry and understand that the molecular bond and also the microbes we can use with humic acids and high quality humic acids like Humica, Enhance, by putting them together and using them also, we can actually increase the CEC at the root zone. We can increase the amount of carbon that's there to hold on to those nutrients. And so we get actually more adoption and we actually get more availability to the roots and we don't lose it going through the tile line or volatilizing up through the air. The other thing is we spend a ton of money on amthio, ATS. We spend money on boron. And I don't want to see boron, which is extremely water soluble, just like nitrates. I don't want to see it going down to the tile line. We spend that money, I want it in the roots. And boron is extremely important on nitrogen, or how it works with nitrogen. You know, the big thing is boron works on nitrogen utilization, but also protein synthesis. So many of the studies have shown over time, in the tri-state area studies have shown that boron is needed later in the season, and it is during grain fill. But what we found out through soil tests, through tissue samples for the last few years, our plants are struggling to find boron. We need more boron throughout the year. We need more sulfur throughout the year, more zinc. So what we've learned is we are applying boron just about every chance we can. We do it in 3 intervals. We do it at the 2x2x2. We do it in our side dress. And we also do it foliar. What we've seen is when we do that, our tissue samples have moved up because our boron levels are rising, and we're keeping that plant to be able to have more protein synthesis, more nitrogen movement, and availability within the plant. Now, let's go to sulfurs for one quick second. We've noticed that our sulfur ratio from nitrogen sulfur needs to get closer to that 7-to-1. Sure, I'd love to have it 5-to-1, but cost is an issue there, and how do we get to that from an economic standpoint? But at 7-to-1, we are actually going to be looking at this year our nitrates, pulling them back a little bit and increasing our sulfur load, primarily through ATS, and then also some foliar things we're doing for elemental sulfur that we're adding at that point in time during foliar. But we are increasing our sulfur from probably going to be in that 3 gallon up to 3, 4, maybe 5 gallon, depends on what our ratio is going to be on the mix. We're also going to do that at side dress as well, increasing that sulfur load while we bring down the nitrates that we're using to be more efficient in the plant, get more sulfur, increase more ROI and yield. But the big thing is we've got to be able to have a humic load there to hold on to it. So with Humic and Enhance, it increases that CEC. It allows more carbon to hold on to. That's why the importance of those two products in your 2x2 or your 2x2x2 or your side dress, or for that matter, any point in time you're using a UAN solution at all, you've got to have Humic or Enhance in your mix. It is a vital key component and a very foundational building block to get to where we're going in our program. So if you got any questions, please at any point in time reach out to us, click the link below, or log on to our social media or website and give us a call, and we'll be glad to help you. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the road.